Only essential businesses will be functioning.
I am officially declaring a national emergency.
This isn't a so-called shelter in place.
Now, the danger is measured in microns, invisible and mindless.
Me and other people who have been calling 58,000 times a day.
We need money for rent now.
Looking back, it's sometimes hard to remember what normal feels like. Days blur into one another as coronavirus had taken over. Increasing case numbers, working from home, or rising unemployment. Everyone was affected. A world turned upside down over the course of just 100 days.
Spots known as Kawasaki disease.
CA making history.
I happen to be taking hydroxy.
You really need to be prepared for another cycle.
A violent arrest in Eastville.
Putting my cops' lives at risk.
You can actually smell fear. You smell death.
It's like battlefield medicine.
We need more boots on the ground.
I love New York. It's like a ghost city now.
But under the stress, pain, and uncertainty was hope.
Something inside of me just said, keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. You know, stay positive, stay positive.
Know that you can't get through it, but you got to fight.
Together, we move forward. Day 33, the landlord.
Known for its fast service, but the man behind the repair shop.
We just want to make sure we're all healthy.
Is fixing more than engines. These days, he's helping fix his neighborhood.
I've been having since the last 10 days, a lot of tenants worried, crying, complaining they can't pay, and losing their jobs.
So he decided this month to waive rent for everyone. 200 tenants, and he is not collecting.
How has your life changed since the story?
My life has changed because I made sure I have all happy tenants, all healthy tenants, and when I do something good, it makes me feel really good because I love helping people. All my tenants called me, they baked cupcakes for me, they tried helping me. And what was more impressive to me, they told me that I was their stimulus package before anything else, made them comfortable, I alleviated any headaches in their mind, and that's what made me really good. And I had a lot of the parents and families told me, thank you for being a father figure to my child.
Day 34, the survivor.
Joints started aching. My body felt like it was just breaking down.
Chris Tillett says the first signs he was infected with COVID-19 were jarring. The 45-year-old Wilton man who had just returned from California went downhill fast.
I was done. I mean, I was practically delirious. If you just watched your family member get taken away in the ambulance, or even if you're in the hospital and you're watching this, know that you can get through it. But you got to fight. You got to want it too.
I'm about 80% back, I'd say, totally. I've got a little bit more work to do in the lung category. But as far as everything else, I'm back to work. I was just on all-day Zooms, knocking stuff out for customers. And I would have to say my boys are grown. We're hanging out. I'm going to go swimming here with them in a minute. So far, so good. I would say that I've recovered quite well. I've always been known as a fighter. A couple times I felt like I was going to die. I really did. I've never felt that way before. And I just got to the point where I said, look, fight as hard as you can. And then if you do die, you die. But at least you fought. I remember thinking to myself, like kind of feeling sorry for myself. And it lasted about 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, you know what? I believe I can survive this. There's no reason to feel sorry for yourself. It is what it is. You caught it. Deal with what you have to deal with right now today. Help my heart be where my feet are. So my feet are here in the hospital. I've got to learn to walk again. We're going to do this. So I just took a little wheelchair, set up beside my bed. After they helped me learn how to walk, the PT team there was awesome. They were great. And so I was like, all right, let me take it conservative. And I set it a foot away from the bed, stood up, turned around, fell back into the wheelchair. But then I just kept doing that, right? I kept moving the wheelchair back and moving it back. And then over time, I was walking all over the place. So that was part of my fighting. I wanted to get out as fast as I could. And I refused to feel sorry for myself.
the fighter.
Back for another shift at work.
Dr. Evelina Graver documented parts of her day for us. She calls these days heart-wrenching. 12 to 16 hours inside a COVID-19 unit at North Shore University Hospital. Every one of her patients seriously ill and on a ventilator.
You walk in, and it's hard for me to say, but you can actually smell fear. You smell death.
Walking into the hospital, very different feel at this period of time.
Definitely a lot more stable at this period of time. I feel both more emotionally and actually mentally. Initial time that I spoke to everybody, and I made it very clear about how scared we all were, and myself specifically. I mentioned about how fearful it was in the hospital, that it felt like there was death everywhere, and it's completely different at this period of time. Actually, as of today, we actually closed our COVID ICU, the first ICU that we created. Today is a big day. We really fully closed it, so it's a huge, huge day. At our peak, we had close to about 185 intubated patients, and today we are down to about only 30.
Taking it on a personal note, what has been the hardest part for you?
The last 2.5 months have been incredibly difficult for me and my family. It's important for people to understand that, we as physicians, we are human first, and we do have families, and we're not just, and I appreciate the whole concept of us being the heroes and everything else, but I can't even tell you how scary that feeling is when at 7 p.m. we hear the claps for the physicians and healthcare workers that are considered to be heroes and everything else, and you can't even help your loved one. You can't even help your own grandfather that raised you. It's a feeling of weird betrayal, like you haven't done enough, like there's something else, that you should be doing something else, you should be doing something more. And that's a tough burden to carry, to say the least. During this period of time, a lot of those people that I've taken care of their physical hearts have now taken care of my heart emotionally, honestly. Just not to take things, people, moments, experiences for granted.
We remember, even as we take cautious steps on the downside of the mountain toward reopening and recovery, we have been taking time in the newscast to put a face on the heartbreaking numbers of those lost and the lives they touched. We remember Isaiah Cooperstein. The last name is familiar to you. His son Adam is our weekend anchor. We don't usually focus on one of our own. More often than not, we avoid it. But Isaiah Cooperstein was long recognized for his groundbreaking work on Holocaust education and awareness. Born in Israel and raised in the United States, Isaiah Cooperstein was the son of Holocaust survivors. And after earning degrees from Johns Hopkins and Columbia Universities, he founded the Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh and later became the first education director at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
When we went to bury my father, the hospital had a bag of his stuff they gave us. Inside the bag from the hospital was this ring that I had never seen before, with something in Hebrew that he always used to say, "This too shall pass." And he truly believed that even in the darkest times, like we're in right now, like the Holocaust that his parents survived and that he would study and teach other people about, he always saw that light. This too shall pass.
Let's get to the huge step forward in the tri-state on the road to reopening.
In New Jersey, more recreational businesses are getting the green light this week.
They are thrilled that the wait is finally over.
Day 96, COVID-19 crisis. It's day 11 of unrest and protest.
The curfew will go into effect in New York City.
However, you have no right to perpetrate violence.
This is not a one-time thing. This is not just Floyd.
but be responsible. Last thing we want to do is see a spike in the number of COVID cases.
I think we'll probably see a notable spike.
There's violent protesters in here. We kick them out immediately because that is not what we're about.
Hospitalizations, ICU, case numbers, all of those are down across the state. Good news for New York City, which is on track to start phase 1 of reopening June 8th.